The harbour master stands at the edge of the pier, watching the horizon where storm clouds gather. Ships approach from all directions, some bearing cargo worth protecting, others carrying storms that could destroy everything the harbour has built. The wise harbour master has learned something that took years of damage to understand. Not every ship that requests entry deserves access to the protected waters within. This is the harbour mind that Cleanthes developed, and it may be the most practical wisdom ever taught about trust after betrayal. Unlike other Stoics who came from privilege, Cleanthes worked with his hands. He carried water by night so he could study philosophy by day. He knew what it meant to be exploited, to have his labour stolen, to trust people who saw his dedication as weakness rather than strength. But instead of closing his harbour entirely, he learned to become the wisest harbour master in all of philosophy. The first principle of the harbour mind: distinguish between the storm and the ship. When someone betrays your trust, two things happen simultaneously. The immediate storm of their betrayal batters your defences, and beneath that storm, you begin to question your ability to judge which ships are safe. Cleanthes understood that these are separate problems requiring different responses. The storm will pass, the hurt, the anger, the sense of violation. These are weather patterns that move through your emotional landscape. But your ability to evaluate character, to recognize patterns of behavior, to distinguish between worthy and unworthy vessels, this capacity can actually be strengthened by the storm if you approach it with the discipline of a harbour master, rather than the panic of a victim. When Cleanthes worked the docks, he observed that the most experienced harbour masters were not those who had never seen storms, but those who had weathered many storms and learned to read the signs that distinguish dangerous ships from safe ones. They developed what he called harbour eyes, the ability to see past the immediate appearance to the underlying seaworthiness of what approached their gates. The second principle: your harbour has different depths for different vessels. The harbour mind does not operate with simple binary thinking, trust or don't trust, open or closed. Instead, it recognizes that different people can be trusted to different depths in different weather for different purposes. Some ships earn access only to the outer harbour, where they can conduct basic business but cannot approach the deeper berths where your most valuable cargo is stored. Others prove over time that they can handle rougher waters, that they strengthen rather than stress your harbour's infrastructure, that they add value rather than extract it. These ships earn access to the protected inner waters where your true treasures lie. Cleanthes would remind his students that this is not punishment for the ships that remain in outer waters. This is realistic assessment of capacity and character. A merchant vessel serves its purpose perfectly without needing access to the military harbour. A fishing boat fulfills its role without requiring the deep berths reserved for the ships that carry the kingdom's crown jewels. In your own relationships, this means recognizing that people can play valuable roles in your life without having equal access to your vulnerability, your resources, or your emotional investment. The colleague who is reliable in professional matters need not become the friend you turn to in personal crisis. The family member who creates drama in intimate settings can still be welcomed at larger gatherings where their particular storms cannot damage your essential infrastructure. The third principle: observe how ships behave in rough weather before granting access to calm waters. The most crucial insight Cleanthes offered was this: character reveals itself most clearly under pressure. Anyone can appear trustworthy when conditions are favourable. The harbour master's skill lies in recognising which vessels will hold course when winds shift and waves rise. This means watching how people respond to inconvenience, disappointment, and conflict before determining how much access they deserve to the areas of your life where such challenges inevitably arise. Do they take responsibility for their own navigation errors? Or do they blame the harbour for conditions beyond anyone's control? When they need something from you, do they approach with respect for your other obligations? Or do they demand that you clear all other traffic for their convenience? The person who proves reliable in small storms earns the right to be trusted in larger ones. The person who blames others when their own poor preparation meets predictable weather has revealed something essential about their character under pressure. The fourth principle. Some ships carry storms wherever they go. This may be the most difficult wisdom for those with generous hearts to accept. Cleanthes observed that certain vessels seem to attract turbulence not through bad luck, but through patterns of navigation that create chaos in any waters they enter. These are not necessarily evil ships, but they are ships that have not learned to travel without dragging storms in their wake. The wise harbour master can acknowledge this reality without hatred or judgment. Some people, through unresolved trauma, undeveloped emotional skills, or simple lack of discipline, bring disruption to every relationship they enter. They may have good intentions, they may be capable of growth, but they have not yet chosen the inner work necessary to become safe harbour companions. Your harbour can wish such vessels well, while declining to offer them berthing in your protected waters. You can hope for their eventual transformation while protecting your own infrastructure from their current patterns. This is not cruelty. This is the sophisticated moral reasoning of someone who takes both human potential and human impact seriously. The fifth principle. A harbour that masters its own gates becomes more valuable to those who deserve safe passage. Here is where the harbour mind reveals its ultimate wisdom. When you develop the skill to distinguish between worthy and unworthy vessels, when you create space for deep trust by maintaining appropriate boundaries with shallow trust, you become a harbour that serious ships seek out and value. People of character recognise and respect a harbour that operates with clear standards. They understand that your selectivity is not rejection of them, but protection of something valuable that they have been invited to share. They do not pressure you to lower your standards or grant access more quickly than feels safe. The result is not a smaller harbour, but a deeper one. Not fewer relationships, but more meaningful ones. Not less trust, but trust that is placed where it can flourish rather than wasted where it will be damaged. Cleanthes himself became such a harbour. Students sought him out, not because he accepted everyone, but because those he accepted knew they had found something rare. A teacher who had learned to trust, wisely rather than carelessly, deeply rather than broadly. His harbour mind created space for profound connection, precisely because it refused space to those who would exploit or damage such connection. In your own life, this means that the people who truly belong in your inner circle will understand and support your discernment about who belongs there. They will not ask you to trust more quickly than feels safe, or to ignore the lessons that experience has taught you. They will value the protection that makes depth possible. The harbour master stands at the pier as dawn breaks, watching ships that have weathered the night storm together in the protected waters within. Some vessels requested entry and were denied, not from cruelty, but from wisdom about which ships can handle the responsibility of safe harbour. Others proved their seaworthiness through seasons of small storms and now rest securely in the deepest berths, having earned their place through consistent demonstration of character rather than mere declaration of good intent. The harbour mind knows that true trust is built not through naive openness or bitter closure, but through the disciplined wisdom to recognise which ships deserve access to the protected waters where your most precious cargo lies, safe from any storm. If this moved you, comment the Citadel holds below. It is our sign that you carry the philosophy with you. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.